This is Cover Your Ears with Brian Geller. Unlocking the secrets of the music industry.
The numbers all go to 11.
You're about to get the inside scoop from the industry insiders.
You go with the Van Halen tickets.
You never know what you're going to hear on Cover Your Ears.
Now raise your goblet of rock.
I can't believe we're in the double digits on the podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the episodes and hitting that subscribe button. If there's anybody you'd like to hear on the show, please let me know, and I'll do my best to bring them in for a talk. I also want to send a shout out to everyone that has been coming to the Atomic Punk shows. Last weekend in Northern California was great, and this weekend surely will not disappoint. First on Friday, we make our way up to Big Bear to play The Cave, and then Saturday night in Hermosa Beach at the always epic Saint Rock. For show details, check out the Atomic Punks on both Facebook or Twitter, or the website at www.theatomicpunks.com. This episode of Cover Your Ears is brought to you by Ultimate Ears Pro, setting the standard for custom in-ear monitors for more than 20 years. I've been using Ultimate Ears in-ear monitors for over 6 years now, and they are the real deal. If you're a musician and still using wedges, take it from me, no joke, give yourself a break and take your performance to the next level with custom in-ear monitors. Musicians, my singing career was about done. Too much singing to go with lots of bad technique. Ultimate Ears changed everything. Now, if you're in Southern California and plan to be at NAMM, stop by the UE booth and say hi. To learn more, visit pro.ultimateears.com. Today's guest is none other than the kick-ass tribute to AC/DC Bonfire. I was lucky enough to get both Sean Muliville and Diego Russo in the studio, and we had a blast. They're based here in Southern California, and not only are they one of the top AC/DC tributes in the U.S., but the world. And get this, they pretty much just do the Bon Scott era, but with a little bit of hint of Brian Johnson. I mean, you got to hit the Back in Black album, right? So we talked about Diego doing guitar solos in kids' jump houses and having his Angus Young shorts ripped from his body. And an exclusive here on Cover Your Ears, Sean's audition with AC/DC and what it was like to spend the day jamming with a band you pay tribute to. Yep, this really happened. Okay, fellas, I've been looking forward to this show for weeks. We have Bonfire in here. We've got Sean. We have Diego. What's happening, boys?
What's going on?
It's good to be here.
So let's make sure the listeners know who's talking here. Now we have Sean, lead singer, not playing Brian Johnson, more or less playing Bon Scott.
Bon Scott, always, yeah. All Bon Scott all the time. I'm Sean. So when you hear this voice, you'll know it's me. But yeah, I do the Bon.
Now, Sean, how long has Bonfire been going on? Is it early 2000s?
Yeah, we're right on about 16 years.
Wow.
Which, and I'm the only original member.
But you guys kind of have had more or less the same lineup.
The classic Bonfire lineup has been together for a good long time.
Okay, which brings us to my buddy here, Diego.
Diego.
Now, Diego, how long have you been in Bonfire?
Going, on 4.5 years now? Almost 5?
Yeah, almost 5.
Yeah.
And you've come in and you've stepped right in. You kind of did the same thing when I stepped in with the Atomic Punks. It was some pretty big shoes to fill. I mean, Steve did a great job.
Steve was amazing. The thing that I think helped me through it was my first gig was Fremont Street, 4 nights in a row, 4 sets a night.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like
First
I had
gig.
a month or less to learn all this stuff. I'm like, although I grew up playing a lot of it, so it was came a little natural. But the playing's one thing, it's just all the shenanigans and all their hardcore fans they have in Vegas. You have to get their approval.
You bring it. I mean, I saw Diego a couple months ago. We all played at the Orange County Fairground thing, and you came to a punk show. And I saw a video. This guy was actually in a kid's jumper doing
The Bounce House.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to have fun with the kids. All ages shows are amazing.
Well, that was the situation he stepped into. Was the guy who actually formed the band was leaving, so not only is he, it's the Angus role, and Angus he's the band. He's the focal point of AC/DC. That's why singers and anybody else can come and go with that band. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as Angus is there, I'll go see him. So he comes into that role, and we told him at the first audition, look, we're not looking for you to come in and be a member of this band. We're looking for you to come in and be the star of this band from day one. And little did we know, we had no idea, but he did more than that. I mean, he's taken us to, we were doing pretty good always as Bonfire. We've been around forever.
Sure.
But when Diego joined the band, it just, something changed.
How does the band dynamic work with you guys? Is it, Sean, do you do a majority of the stuff? Are you guys splitting them up? Is it all 5 guys take part in different tasks that relate to, having a band?
Kind of that way. Diego does carry a lot of the load. He communicates with our booking agent most of the time and sends out advances and stuff. And it's easier, I think, for a musician in the band to do that stuff with stage plots and gear lists and stuff. So he does do a lot. But then our bass player, James Pulley, does the website.
He does a lot. Yeah.
Does a lot of that.
And James is he original guy?
Close to.
Close to it, okay.
Close to. But we had a couple bass players. But, yeah, he does a lot of that.
Forrest, the drummer.
Forrest does the Facebook promotion. We've had a little bit of rotation in our Malcolm.
Yeah, the rhythm guitar.
Right.
So they show up and play their parts, and that's important too. I mean.
And how many gigs are you guys doing right now a year?
Ooh.
A lot. We had a good summer. We were playing pretty much 8-10 times a month over the summer.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So let's go back. So, Sean, how long have you been singing? I mean, did you grow up in a musical type family? How did that all work out for you?
I grew up in a theater family, so we did musical theater from the time I was 4.
And where'd you grow up?
Michigan.
Okay.
A little town in Michigan. And then, by the time I got to L.A., I had a girlfriend who was like, you need to join a band, and those kind of girlfriends.
Right.
And so sure enough, it's Los Angeles. You can't throw a stone without hitting a band. And just started hanging out with these guys. And next thing I know, I was in a band. And then you're in another band. And then you're in another band. And
so what were your influences coming up? What were you listening to?
Mostly I grew up in the 70s. So it was a lot of, it was either American Bandstand or Soul Train. So it was...
That's all you hear backstage prior to our shows. Usually, he'll be screaming his head off, warming up to some
Gladys
James
Knight.
Brown.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny. But it's
no
cool.
AC/DC backstage.
Oh,
yeah, last thing. It's funny. A lot of times, what the punks will do, we'll throw on an old bootleg.
Yeah,
just to a little motivation.
Keeps it
maybe,
fresh. Yeah,
maybe you pick up on something. So you don't get bored. So Diego, how about you? How long have you been playing guitar?
About 3 months. Man, I started
3 months and in the jumper.
Yeah, exactly. But it's been I started kind of late, when I was 13, 14. I wish I would have started younger. So it's been a good about 65 years or so.
At least.
I was trying to do the
been
math,
a long
but I'm
time.
glad you're quicker than me.
Started younger. See, I can say it. See, I didn't start singing, and you can probably tell, I didn't start singing until I was in my mid-30s.
Right.
So I started.
Wow, that's
really
amazing.
late. Is that amazing bad or amazing good?
Wow.
No, it's funny. What made you just go? Did you go to a karaoke night one night?
No, what happened is I went to an Atomic Punk show.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, I know. And did I lead you into this story or what? I don't even think I've told the story on the podcast. Yeah, it was I think my 33rd or 34th birthday, and we had a bunch of us and went to a punk show at House of Blues Anaheim. Big Van Halen fan, obviously, and I see the punks. I'm going, are you kidding me? These guys are better than Van Halen. I grew up seeing them every tour since '81. So I got really hammered at this show, was walking out to the parking lot after the gig, and I announced to my buddies and my wife at the time that, okay, I'm going to be in a Van Halen tribute band. And they just laughed, and they said, well, you kind of need to know how to sing. And I'm like, Dave doesn't know how to really sing. And I felt like I knew the Dave part really well, just being a fan. So I kind of approached it the other way as just purely a fan.
Wow.
So
Do
crazy.
you remember who was on that bill that night you saw him? You said it was Anaheim, right?
It was Anaheim. It was probably around, 2004 or something?
Okay.
2003.
You guys might have been on it.
It might have been you guys, right?
Well, we could have been on it, or I could have been at that show.
Really?
Yeah. The first time I saw the Atomic Punks was, they were with Mr. Crowley. They were with Wrathchild, which eventually became the
Iron Maiden.
the Iron Maidens.
Okay,
But
right.
at that time, they were half girl, half guy, and they were
Right.
called Wrathchild. And then I think there was a Guns N' Roses band on there too. But anyway, I had just started talking to Steve, the guy that was forming Bonfire, and I didn't know anything about a tribute band. I didn't know what it was. And somebody said, hey, go see this band, the Atomic Punks, in Anaheim.
How funny.
At the House of Blues. And I took one look, and I was like, I got to get some of this.
Right?
It looked like too much fun. All
I
four
couldn't
bands.
believe, yeah, and I couldn't. Same thing with me. I had never seen a tribute band. I mean, the only thing that came to mind when I thought of a tribute band was like Beatlemania or something
Elvis
at Disneyland,
impersonators.
exactly. And it just, and I kind of knew about them in the back of my mind, but just never really gave it any thought. And when I saw the Punks, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is the greatest thing I've ever seen."
That's just like my story. The first band I saw that is in the tribute scene was Bonfire. Remember
Really?
14 Below in Santa Monica?
Yeah.
I think that was their first show.
Oh, wow.
I just had a friend go, let's go see this AC/DC band. I'm like, saw these guys. I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. But I love it. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
It
that
is.
same thing
It's
with
crazy.
that same thing with Joe Lester, our bass player. He saw the Punks years ago and
wow.
had to be in the band. And
Wow,
they had
Joe,
they had a
right on.
situation. They had a bass player that was they've had a few, but I think this might be the correct story. If not, it kind of mixes into the same blend of what I'm going to say. But basically, the guy that was the bass player in the Punks in those original days was just deathly afraid of flying. And the Punks were starting to play a lot of out-of-town gigs. And so Joe would do the out-of-town gigs, and then this other guy would do the in-town gigs. And then eventually it just got so big that, it became Joe's gig. But same thing as you, Diego. He saw
Right.
the band's like, okay, that's kind of like what I want to do.
Yeah, it was exciting, that's for sure, and something you never see. At that point too, there was no real like music scene in LA. I mean, there
Right.
was, but there wasn't. It was like,
I mean, what do you guys think about it right now? Is there a stigma attached to tribute bands right now? Is it still cool? Is it past its heyday? I mean, what do you guys think about it?
I keep thinking it's going to pass some point, but then we get bigger every year. We get better gigs. There's more casinos opening
yeah, the
up.
casinos is where you get treated the best. I think
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And we get pretty good respect from people. I never feel any animosity. I never feel any stigma. Like,
Yeah, I agree. I think for us, we go into each year and we're like, okay, is this the year where it drops down and it just kind of just stays afloat? When I joined the Punks almost 6 years ago, I'm like, these are some big shoes to fill. I just want to keep the ship afloat and keep it going. And people still want to see it. People dig the music. And I think for us, we like to get out of LA. It seems like there's a lot of areas out there that are just hungry for rock. And when you get a good quality band, regardless if it's a tribute or not, people get into it. They react to it.
oh yeah,
You know where I noticed it really, like, as far as LA goes, like when we play at a Viper Room, because it's like more of an original band
Right.
venue, of course, and I think they always put us with a couple, 2, 3 original bands. And I think by the time we go on, it's like the music is so powerful, just like Van Halen, Led Zeppelin. They're ready for something familiar at that point, and then it's like people
point.
just go ape shit, and
Right.
it's just like it's kind of interesting, because it's like you got these original bands working their asses off, probably not doing really good, financially, this and that, and it's like we just go up there playing some great AC/DC or cover songs, whatever, and it's like the place comes alive all of a sudden, It's from that essence, it's cool, it's like nice to
There's a place
get
for
that.
it for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you guys do it well. I mean, I remember the first time I saw Bonfire. I think it might have been a gig in Long Beach, and I was like, this is ridiculous because there are a lot of AC/DC bands out there. I can't even tell you how many AC/DC bands I've been on the same bill with, and nobody does it like you guys. I mean, it's just amazing. And the catalog you get to choose from is...
Yeah,
right?
I in my opinion, I mean, it's just me, but he might agree with it too. It's just the best of the best tunes. We go as far back as we'll cover anything from bootleg stuff or Bon Scott era to like, I mean, maybe as far as Back in Black, which is an amazing album, but my favorite stuff is definitely the Power Ridge album is our favorite album, and it's just hit. I mean, and the way I feel about it is just every song on those albums is just mind blowing.
So how many songs out of the AC/DC catalog? Let me rephrase this. How many songs do you have to play each show as far as the same ones? Like I know for the Van Halen stuff, there's probably about 12 to 15 that we've got to play or they'll have my head.
Yeah. You got to play Dirty Deeds. You got to play TNT. You got to play Highway to Hell. Probably a whole lot of Rosie. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones you have to play. Then there are other Touch Too Much, Sin City. For us, those have become kind of must-plays just because we play them all the time. I don't know if they're a must-play for other AC/DC tributes.
Yeah, like I always thought it would be cool to, like a Zeppelin tribute. Because you look at Led Zeppelin, you've got, probably you got to play Stairway to Heaven, you got to play A Whole Lot of Love, rock and roll. But the beauty about some Zeppelin is after that, it's all good, and it's all about that same second-tier level. I mean, I can imagine how fun that is to put those set
for
lists
you guys,
together.
Van Halen, I mean, you're kind of stuck. You've got to play there's like 15 must-play songs.
There is.
Yeah.
There is. It's like, great, here
whole
we are,
first
jump
album.
again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we have a little bit of that. But, like, I just found, embarrassingly enough, one of my kids put on, I told him to put on the Power Ridge album on the computer, and he put it on, but he put on the UK version, which has a couple slightly different versions of the songs on the US. Plus, it's also got Cold Hearted Man, which I had completely forgotten about. I mean, like, to where I heard it and didn't know what I was listening to. And so immediately is on, guys, you have to all learn Cold Hearted Man right now, and we have to play it at the next gig.
And it's at Vegas where we have Alicia, and we start getting all these emails from Cold Hearted Man.
Yeah, so anyway, it took us 2 or 3 gigs before I got them all to learn it and play it.
That's great.
But it's a brand new song. After 16 years, we're playing a song we've never played before. And
I saw. It was about 2 years ago. I was going to actually email you on this, and I never did. It was a Bon Scott sung AC/DC song, but it was a Brian Johnson era tune. Like they had recorded it with Bon Scott just before Back in Black came out.
Oh, wow.
And it was you guys.
Oh, it was us. Yeah, somebody
It was
labeled
you guys.
it as, yeah.
And I'm like,
I've been fooled by that too.
I go, are you kidding me? I go, nobody knows about this. I go, this is my mission in life. Everybody needs to know about this. And then I read a little bit more. I'm like, oh, it's Bonfire doing it. What was that? Was it
It
was
had
it
to be
Shoot the
something
Thrill or
probably
Hell's
something
Bells?
off Back in Black, because that's as far as we go.
Right.
But
it was you guys, right?
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah, and I noticed that. I saw that too. Someone had labeled it, and so I'm like, what? And because you always hear those rumors, and I clicked on it. I'm like, that's me. That's me.
See, that's one thing. Speaking of Back in Black, I mean, to me and probably to a lot of others, it's to me it's a treat hearing like Bon Scott singing some of the Back in Black stuff.
Yeah,
and that's
really
that's
cool.
why sometimes we do it. I mean, we enjoy doing it, and it's sometimes like must have. Sometimes you got to do Shook Me All Night Long. You got to do Hell's Bells, and not every show, but there's some shows where we got to stay.
So you guys don't go anywhere. You don't go past the Back in Black album.
Because you can say, how seriously do you want to take this stuff? But we are a Bon Scott tribute. The name of the band's Bonfire, so you don't want to mess around and upset people that are serious about it, because AC/DC fans are they're hardcore. And so, but we figure at least with the Back in Black, that's an album that was written. The music was written with Bon in mind to sing it, and then the lyrics were written as a tribute to Bon after he had passed away. So, so I think it makes sense for a Bon Scott band to play those songs.
You'd be shooting yourself in the foot, let's be honest, if you didn't play some of those songs.
Right. I fought it for a long time, though.
Did you fight it?
The band almost broke up over it a million times.
I think we might have talked about it years ago.
Yeah,
I think when I played in the other band, when we were playing together, I think you guys maybe were hitting one song.
Yeah, I fought it.
It was like, Sean, come on, man.
I fought it.
I mean, when I got in the band, we actually got hired to do the whole album, was it?
The
whole
Hilton?
album? 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
And so we pulled it off. I mean,
Did you guys do it from start to finish? Or just
we did it, and it's... We started the show with some classics, couple tunes, and we announced, okay, we're going to do the Back in Black album in its entirety. Then we ended on, like I said,
how do people react to that? I've messed with that before in the past, like playing. If you take a Van Halen 1 album and do it from start to finish, and it's pretty cool. I think pretty cool for the band, but it's like most of the people don't know what the hell you're doing. That's out in the crowd.
yeah,
right.
Well, they know Back in Black because that's one of those albums that everyone had. And so maybe they haven't listened to it for a while. So when you get to Let Me Put My Love Into You, Babe, they all of a sudden, that's a heavy song. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, man.
Yeah, that's one of those tunes you forget about. I mean, that's like 7th grade, Back in Black. That was my introduction to AC/DC. I mean, I had no idea about Bon Scott or anything before. That was the album that brought me in. And I remember listening to some of the other albums, and I was at Little League practice one day, and some kid saw me wearing like my AC/DC shirt, and he said, "You know what? You're going to go to hell for listening to AC/DC." And I'm like, you know what? I don't care.
Yeah, right.
I'll see you there.
Right, I'll see you there, man. I'm like, really?
That's great.
We may be only 12, but I'm not buying into that.
Yeah, right.
People were freaked out by them back then, though. They were. It was, when we grew up, there was a different world. People really took that stuff seriously.
Well, for people that don't know, where they got the logo from, right? The whole name? Was it a vacuum? Was it a vacuum?
Yeah, I think it was a sewing machine.
Sewing machine.
That's the way I heard it. Their sisters, Malcolm and Angus's sister's sewing machine. It has that cool logo, AC with the lightning bolt.
Right.
AC.
Right.
So the story goes.
But yeah, back then, I mean, there was.
Oh, they thought, AC/DC 1 means you're gay.
Right. That was the other one, right?
And Highway to Hell, they're devil worshippers.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing too is like back growing up in the 70s, it was all visual. We had albums, and there was no connections to bands unless you picked up Cream and Circus Magazine. Open up your albums and just study the hell out of these things and read as much as you can about the band. That was it, man. There was like no social media or anything. Right. I mean, I thought Kiss were actually superheroes. I didn't know what was going on.
That's one thing I embrace, and I'm sure you guys do as well, is that we got to see all that. You went to the record store on your bike or your skateboard, and you bought an album. You had it. You had the band in your hand. Of course, now that I have YouTube and all this stuff, you could see it, but there was something about buying an album, just the experience and the smell and just the posters that would come out,
going to the record store.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're saying, Brian, though, you read those liner notes over and over again because it's all you had.
Yeah.
Right.
There was no Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
It was, you'd read those liner notes.
Right.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's like nowadays you go to a concert, you buy your tickets that day, show up to the show. You've already read online what the set list is.
Right.
It makes me crazy. I can't.
Yeah. And then, what drives me crazy is sometimes every now and then you'll see. I mean, I know they mean well. They're trying to, maybe get their camera to work, but it's like, are you texting or are you trying to find your camera?
Oh,
we're working our asses off up here. Get off the goddamn phone.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
Oh, Diego will just go to the edge of the stage, stop playing guitar, cross his arms, and just stare whoever down.
I grab their phones and shove it down his pants sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll come out of Eruption and Lance is doing the long solo and everybody's holding their cameras up and I'll come out with my phone. And
That's great. I love it.
We'll go into You Really Got Me and it's the slow breakdown part and I'll pretend like I'm on the phone and telling my wife, I'm like, you know what? It's the guitar solo right now. I can't talk. And it's like, see, isn't that annoying, you know?
Right? Isn't that?
It's crazy, man.
But that's the way it is now. You
Yeah.
know, it's the days. And it's funny. And the kids know that. They acknowledge it. My kids, they wish they had grown up, you know, back in those days and what the music scene, you know, was truly like.
And you know, there was like, how can I say this? Like, you went to a show, like, and you weren't really prepared, so it just blew you away. You know, it was like now it's like, oh, you know, it's just curiosity, and you know, at the push of a button, you could see, oh, I'm going to the show tomorrow. Let's see what these guys sound like. You know, so it's almost like, you know, now back then it was like you get your ticket, you get in line, you know, all this stuff, spend your money, then you show up, you're like,
you waited
just
all night long.
Yeah.
Not only did you wait all night long, and then it was pretty much you had to rush that ticket window because somehow at the Sears Ticketron, the tickets were going to be gone within minutes. So if you were lucky enough to get your colonnade seats in the top row at the Forum, you still had to wait 9 months for the band to get there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, Diego, where'd you come from, man?
Well, I was, let's see, where did I come from? What planet am I from? I was born in Argentina, actually, Buenos Aires.
Really?
Yeah. I'm Italian background, you know, my whole family, and but I grew up here. I mean, I've been here since I was like 7 years old in L.A., West Side. I grew
Westchester.
up. Yeah. You actually moved there when you first came here, right?
Yeah.
You know there?
So right by the airport.
Yeah, I grew up by the airport. It took me a long time to be able to sleep without hearing an airport. I had older cousins that were all, like you said, the Westchester parties. I was exposed to that a lot in early age, and just, you're a kid, you're going through their, what record collection was like this, leaning up against the wall, so you'd flip through all their albums. You see these amazing covers, Led Zeppelin, and so yeah, I grew up with all of that.
But tell them about how you guys used to go to Hollywood, though.
Oh, do we really?
Well, you got to go on. I got to hear this.
Yeah, well,
nobody's listening to this anyways.
Yeah, it's just us talking.
So I had friends growing, and then you grow up through like junior high, high school, and we were back then it was like 9th grade, you're in high school, right?
Yep.
Yeah, something like that. Because now they bring you in at 8th or something. But anyway, all through like high school from 10th to 11th, something like that. A couple of my friends were like, I had a friend of mine that was, he was one of those guys that was kind of well off, and, his dad just let him do whatever, 30-foot motorhome. They had one of those motorhomes, the Winnebagos, what are they called?
Right.
No, the Southwind.
Oh, okay.
The Southwind. Of course, man. Every weekend came around, this guy would pick us up. Let's go to Hollywood, and this. So it was like a tour.
So
Can you imagine if you guys had your own motorhome to hang out in Hollywood?
It was insane. The things we would do in there, man.
There was no drinking at all going on.
Oh no, not at all.
Nothing like that.
No women got invited.
We'd park that thing down the street from Gil Turner's, and just park there, start partying, go walk the strip, come back, walk the strip, come back, do a few circles, then one thing lead to another, and girls would come in, or no dudes allowed, just us. But no, it was a good time growing up. Hollywood.
What a great front, though. You show up, you meet some chicks. Yeah, we've got our tour bus out there, right?
Pretty much.
Yep.
And it's like then we end up sometimes we end up waking up like we'd go to a Dockweiler.
Right.
Because it was a parking area. We'd end up partying there till the next morning. Then we're like trying to figure out who's going to take these people home.
What a great cover too. No cops are going to mess with you.
No.
Well, they did. Sometimes
They would.
you get
you get the knock on the window. Yeah,
Hey.
the best was it was one of those moments we were parked down the street from the Sunset Strip there, and we're all partying. It's like it's having a huge party in there or whatever. Then you get the knock on the door. I expect girls or whatever. You open the door and it's like I'm holding a beer. It's like there's a flashlight in my face.
hide the bomb.
First thing, according to my friend, as I don't remember, he said the first thing I said is, "You want a beer, officer?" I mean, what are you going to do? We're like what, 17, 18? I'm like, so yeah, it was interesting. They let us go though.
We need that motorhome now.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, the bonfires. We need something. That'd be cool.
Well, a couple times we actually found a driver. a big fan of the band, and he's been kind of taking us on some of these trips in this big van with a trailer.
Boy, you guys scored on that.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Leon.
we all
Seems
know
Leon.
this. We're all veterans of the tribute band wars, and about 80% of being a tribute band, you feel like you're in Spinal Tap, right?
Right.
It's very
Everybody has their Spinal Tap stories.
Oh God! And there's multiple ones. And you have those moments where, hey man, we're rock stars. You know, there's those big crowds, there's those great stages, good sound systems, good backstage area where you start to. But there's always that reminder. And Leon driving us around in a custom '90s conversion van, pulling a U-Haul with all our equipment, cooler full of beer in the back, was very, very Spinal Tap, but also very Bonfire.
That was a long haul. It was L.A. to Seattle, the West Coast tour thing. We did like 4 or 5 dates. It was like, poor
It's
guy.
tough because you'll do these shows where you're like, wow, this is why we do it. All these people, everybody's into it, and then the next weekend you play and there's like 9 people there.
You just never know. Yeah.
We play every year. We play this amusement park, and it's a great gig and it's good money and the people are so nice and the amusement park, it's a beautiful park, but the people aren't there to see an AC/DC tribute band. They're to come to the park, and you're part of the entertainment, so they will drop in on the entertainment or whatever. But there can be the 4 o'clock show
on a Sunday or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
You're playing for 6 people, and That's,
so what's your secret? How do you keep yourself motivated to get through that? Diego, you got your guitar. You can do the Angus thing. You can get through it. But
I smacked him in the head with it.
But as a lead singer, that's a tough deal, man.
That is, but that's where you get good. Those are the gigs. It's easy to play. People are like, oh, you're playing for 5,000 people. No, that's the easiest thing in the world.
Exactly.
Playing for 5 people is tough.
Yeah.
But you do it. You learn how to do it, and now it's no different. Those 4 people deserve the same show.
They pay to get in.
Yeah, so it's like, hey,
it's not their fault that the 4,996 didn't show up.
And we'll definitely make it more personal. We'll go right out. Me and Diego, we'll go out and sit with them.
That's what I was going to say. Some of the best shows actually are the ones where we could just not worry about the clock or this or that. There's 10 people here, 12, and we'll the set list will go out the window. We'll just start doing not to we'll do the hits and stuff, but then sometimes we'll do like something like Cold Hearted Man or just something really gone shooting out of Powerage, because it's like we're playing for us as well as
right. And the people there, they get it. They do. They get it, and we'll try to just turn it into a thing where we're like, let's just make this a backyard party. We're gonna have fun. We're not even going to go off the set list.
Right.
You tell us, what you want to play and what you want us to play, and just I'll walk around with the microphone and just do my best game show host impersonation.
There you go.
So where are you from? It's just
awesome.
It's about having fun.
Yeah.
So what's the most memorable thing on stage for you guys that's happened? What stands out?
My first couple gigs.
Yeah, one of mine. It happened to him, but I watched it. It was that first weekend he played with us. The crowd,
Fremont Street, Vegas,
took, and the crowds on Fremont Street. It's endless. It's a sea of people, and somehow they took his shorts right off. Angus, the little Angus shorts.
Right.
They somehow stripped his shorts right off of him and took them, and they're gone. They're gone.
Really?
That was great. Well, what happened was I was at the edge of the stage. I was like kind of soloing. This chick kept yanking my pants. I'm like, but by then they just came down. So now I look, they're on my ankles. I didn't want to trip, so I kind of stepped out of them. I'll put them on later. I was going to kick them, but bam, they're gone. So then then all this chaos erupts on, and we just kept playing. Good thing I had my shorty shorts on, but
Next thing, this this guy grabs him from the girl who originally
security
grabbed him.
guy comes over.
Our sound guy went over to try to help, and this guy grabs our sound guy around the neck. So now I jump in the crowd to save the sound guy. And then I'm like, I can't be jumping off the stage in Vegas. They kick you out of town for this kind of thing. So,
but that was a fun time. It ended up working out. The problem was we had one more long set to do.
Yeah, and
I had to do it in my underwear. Screw it.
So playing Fremont Street in your underwear.
Yeah,
perfect.
Great.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was, and especially, didn't you have special underwear made up that said Bonfire?
Yeah, it said Bonfire. So you do the whole Angus BA thing, but it says Bonfire.
So and take me to some international type things. I know you've done some conventions before.
Yeah, we did the what did they call it? They called it the Big Ball. And there's a bunch of AC/DC fan things around the world. There's a Bon Scott Festival in Kirriemuir, but they had this one in Wrexham for 3 years running before they ran out of money. It was called the Big Ball, and they flew us over there and put us up in this amazing little hotel, this town of Wrexham, Wales. It was Wales, and none of us had ever been to England, and
was there any type of extra pressure with it being an international gig, did you feel?
It was
something like that.
It was because we're in, the UK playing AC/DC with all these other UK bands that think, and with their fans. And, everybody thinks their tribute band of whatever is the best.
Sure.
And so here we come from Los Angeles. I'm sure they thought, these guys, whatever they thought about us. But we got in there. It was a 3-night thing, and we got there for the second night. And we walked in, and we were watching this band that was really good, and it was like one of the premier UK. They're still around. And our drummer Forrest, who's still in the band, looks at me, and he just kind of smiles, and I smiled, and it was just like, it's no different. We're going to be fine. We're going to, and sure enough, we played.
There's a reason they flew you out there.
Yeah, and we ended up closing it, and there was people crying, and we did Ride On, and like I said, people crying. This big giant dude just walks up on the stage and picked me up and hugged me like a loving hug. This giant dude. And he puts me down, and then security didn't throw him out. They just kind of escorted him, comforted him off the stage.
You're going to be all right.
Right. And, we got off the stage, and they were just like, the promoter was like, this. I've been putting this show on for 3 years, and this is what I was wanting to happen. And so it felt great. It was a really cool night. It was a cool energy, really cool.
So then you go from there to the next weekend at the Orange County Swap Meet in front of 9 people.
Right?
Well, yeah. Well, at that time, we were still pretty new band, so...
Oh, so that was early on.
Yeah. So we probably went to having 2 months off.
Right.
And Bonfire's been that way from the start. Our second gig was opening for the Foo Fighters.
Really?
So we thought, wow, this is it. Wow. And then, a couple months go by without a gig and no phone calls. And, it was tough, tribute bands back then. It's changed a lot. But back then, you played Paladinos, and then you played 14 Below, and then you waited until you could play Paladinos and 14 Below again.
Oh, the Lighthouse. I saw you guys at the Lighthouse once.
Lighthouse,
we
that
didn't
gig.
get too many there. We didn't get a lot there. We always wanted to play there, but...
So what's your take on other AC/DC tribute bands as far as, who's out there? How's your relationships with those other bands? Is there a relationship?
It's actually great, actually. I mean, there's a as you know, there's a bunch of them. There's two or three that I know of that there's guys that'll, one of them, like the guy will fill in for it. It's like Denny's band.
Well, yeah, when you need a sub,
There's
where
a
are you
San
gonna
Diego
look?
band.
You're going to look to another tribute band, so you better have a good relationship.
But yeah, we're I mean,
But can
obviously,
you sub? But nobody can sub for you though.
No one can sub for
Right.
me, and I won't sub for another band.
And that's the same thing. Everybody in my band can take a night off, and if it's important enough, it's a family matter type thing.
Yeah.
But not me. I've got to do it.
I won't sub for another band. Now I'm in another band in Germany, a band called Barak, and they have a Brian Johnson singer. But every once in a while for a special one-off gig, and they do a couple a year, they fly me over and we do half the show Bon Scott and half the show Brian Johnson. So it makes it kind of a big...
Those guys are awesome.
So for that, I'll do it. Yeah, they do a big... They travel two semis and a full-on tour bus, and so I'll do that because it's not like I'm just doing, another band in Long Beach that I'm competing with us. It's a completely different thing. And but I only do it a couple times a year. And they're great guys.
I think that's different. I've done one of those Vegas legends type thing. Just we weren't playing and. It's interesting doing the same type of music that you're doing every weekend with your boys and doing it with somebody like that. You definitely see a huge difference. Mm-hmm. It's a whole nother thing. Makes you appreciate
what you got.
Exactly.
Yeah. It does.
Exactly. So what's your take on the whole AC/DC drama going on right now with Axl singing with them, and basically Angus is it in that band.
He's the only guy left.
He is
pretty much.
He is. Well, Chris Slade was in the band back in the '80s, the drummer. So he's legit, and what's his name? Stevie is a cousin on Malcolm playing rhythm. And now, that's true. Cliff left now, huh? He's done. So unless they can get Mark Evans back.
They get you.
Yeah, well, they tried to get me.
Yeah, tell us about that. Now, nobody really knows about this, so this is a Cover Your Ears exclusive, right, Diego?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So cover your ears, because you shouldn't hear this.
Yeah, you shouldn't hear this. So, yeah, I think it's before we get into this, I think it says a lot about you, about the band, that you didn't feel like you needed to put this out there. But we're going to put that out there right now because it's a great story. So take us to what happened.
All right. Well, it's a great story, and of course I wanted to tell, but they asked me not to, so I didn't. But now, obviously it's okay. It's been a long time. But back in March, everyone heard that Brian Johnson had suffered this horrible hearing loss, and his doctors told him, look, one more show is all it could take, and you could lose it forever, so you have to stop now. Well, they were mid-tour. And, they put out there right away that they were going to get a guest vocalist to finish out the tour.
So did you hear this?
I heard it on the radio.
You had heard it on the radio,
just
like all of us. Okay.
I heard it on the radio. Then I was cleaning a pool like I do every day. I'm a pool guy. I own a pool business, and I was cleaning a pool, and my phone rang, and it was our booking agent. And he said, hey, did you hear what happened with AC/DC? I go, yeah, it's crazy, that's crazy. And he goes, well, are you sitting down? And I said, don't fuck with me, don't, come on. And he goes, no, I'm dead serious. I just got off the phone with him.
As his stomach is turning, and it wasn't turning because he touched those nasty pool chemicals.
Yeah.
I didn't know. It's so unreal. I mean, think of it. In the tribute band world, that's you think about that, but you also know it's not a real situation. It's not the movie Rockstar. It's
a rare thing.
Rare thing. So he says, yeah. They called me and they want to get together with you. So I'm trying to process all this, and he's like, I got to go. That's them. I'll call you back. And
Do you go back to cleaning the pool?
I had to finish out my day at work. Yeah,
right.
Unbelievable.
But then then I get another phone call, and so what I picture is what everybody else I've told the story pictures is. Okay, I'll go to some studio in Los Angeles, and there'll be a couple management types there listening, and I'll sing to a track, and they'll take it and send it to the band. Well, then as the weekend comes, I haven't heard anything. And you hear all these rumors flying all over the internet. And
were you thinking you need to jump on some Brian Johnson era?
I completely did. I started singing Brian Johnson. I found the set list for the tour and started trying to learn everything I didn't know.
Like, I should have been doing them. I should have been doing them.
I know. Thunderstruck. That's the hard, tough song to learn. Yeah. Yeah. Thunderstruck and For Those About to Rock are not as easy as they sound. They're pretty complex with the counts and the backing vocals. And
Did you call Diego and tell him? Did you tell the other guys what was going on?
Jamie said, you can't tell anybody.
Wow.
He goes, you can't tell anybody. Now, of course I did. I did call him, but then they said, then the next thing I know is like, okay, you're getting on a plane, flying to Atlanta, you'll meet with the tour manager and the stage manager the night before, then you'll go in the studio with the band, and we'll see what happens. They're only bringing out 3 or 4 guys, and but they've seen you do the Bond stuff, but they want to know whether you can do the Brian stuff. So I'm like, oh God, right.
So this is all you've got to go on.
Yeah, that's it. So I get there. It was awesome, man. Talk about feeling like a rock star.
Right?
When you get
They pick you up at the airport and everything?
Yeah, with the guy with the sign says your name, with the little hat on, grabs your bag.
He's got
right
the
to
horn.
black
He's got
guy.
the hat on with the horns coming out.
Exactly.
Right to the, grabs your bag, right to the top floor of this hotel in Atlanta, which the top floor is only accessible if you got the right card.
One of those places.
And once they know you're on the 26th floor, there's like, oh, sir, yes, what can I get? They know you're somebody, right? And so I went out for drinks with the stage manager and the tour manager. Couldn't have been nicer guys. And the tour manager says, so what do you sound like when you sing the Brian stuff? And I said, well, I think I sound like, I said, my band thinks I sound like Bond singing Brian. I said, I don't know what that would sound like. I think I sound like me.
Which goes back to what I was saying earlier about when I heard the song that you guys did. I'm like,
Right.
why isn't this out there?
Right.
So he goes, perfect. Don't try to sound like anybody. Just the best advice I can give to you tomorrow at the audition, Sean, is just be yourself. So I'm like, okay. And I kept waiting to get nervous. And they told me, they go, Sean, when you get there, you're not going to believe how normal everything is. You're just not going to believe it. So I get there, and it's all the techs. And they set me up with some in-ears, which are important, as we know. That's why we're here. But
Right.
But they set me up with some in-ears, and I played through a couple songs with the techs, the guitar techs and the drum tech, because they said, we want you to get used to the volume that they rehearse at. And I'm telling you guys, I've told him, you've never heard.
And I've been to my share of Bonfire shows. It's loud.
You've never heard. I've never heard. It's a volume that hurts you physically. I've never experienced anything like it.
You're and I can see him. He's kind of cringing, almost like like you could still feel it.
Every song they start at the end of the day. We played 22 songs. They start the
So
22nd song.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on a second. So they bring you in there, first class, all this stuff. They pick you up. You're hanging out with the sound guys, and you get to go in and do 22 songs. Did you do it with Angus and the whole band, or was it just with the whole band?
Is, after playing through a couple half songs, because the guitar tech doesn't know the solos, everybody just kind of goes, okay, we'll just wait for the band. And when they walk in, you don't even notice that they walked in, because nothing changes. They're just dressed like anybody else, act like anybody else. And Angus and his wife come over and introduce themselves to me, right? Introduce themselves to me. I, by accident, made a joke that they thought was hysterical, and it was just like, okay, here we go. And they all sit around and drink coffee and smoke cigarettes for absolutely ever. And and I didn't know what to do or what was appropriate, and one of the guys goes, you should go sit with Angus. So I walked out in the back, and I'm sitting with Angus and Stevie and Cliff, and Angus just holds court. He just tells stories. I remember this one time in 1977, we were playing this gig in Chicago. He starts telling the story.
Yeah, he's a little guy.
Smaller than you even.
Right.
So anyway, I'll get to the point here.
What was the first song you did?
Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be.
So you finished that song. Did you stop? Did he say something? What was the
Yeah.
What was the first thing he said to you after he got to hear you sing?
Well, they don't say a lot. They're really. It felt like they were auditioning for me because they play so hard that I was like, well, these guys are trying really hard. They don't got to impress me, you know. Isn't this just they're auditioning me, you know? But I guess they also were rehearsing, you know, because they had to,
Right.
you know, they had this
Was there a look he did?
they
Like,
gotta
oh
do.
my God.
Oh yeah, there was a couple times that he looked at me and also all the guys. I wanted to look at all of them. I wanted to really take it all in because who knows, you know. I felt like I won the lottery. I didn't care if I got the job or not. I was living the dream. I was playing.
To get a day like that.
And to just play jam with them, you know, whatever.
If they would have told you, you get to do this, there's no job in the offing. It's just you get to go and hang out. That was my dream. I mean, I got to do it. And we played, one of the best parts was we played, they said, I had sent them a video of us doing Dog Eat Dog because we do Dog Eat Dog a lot. Well, they hadn't done Dog Eat Dog in years. And so he said, yeah, you guys do Dog Eat Dog, you know. Yeah. When you want to do it, you know. And I said, yeah, let's do it. I love that, you know. And so we're playing it. And
This is unreal.
Yeah, it was
Right,
unreal.
man.
At one point in the song,
I got goosebumps over here. I'm serious.
it all, you know, the count has to work out to get to the gap to where I can, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and sing. So he's got to get out of this lead, and I can tell he's just a little bit behind it because they haven't played it in so long. And I actually am looking at Angus Young, and he's looking at me like, I know, like I know the song better than him. You know what I mean? Just because we play it all the time.
Right.
And so I'm looking at him like, okay, you got it. Are you going to get there?
Right.
And sure enough, he got there. Of course, he's Angus Young. I mean, but it was just so funny that he looked at me. He knew that I was
That's
waiting
neat.
for him, you know, and that was, I mean, I'll never.
Did you get
I'll
a
never
tape
forget
of?
that.
Did you get a tape of the whole thing?
They have a tape, and one day I'll ask for that tape. I don't know if I will be given that tape, but I also
That's kind of the
asked-
whole. I mean,
Yeah.
the holy grail. I think back when I first wanted to be a singer and wanted to sing in a Van Halen band, really the only thing I wanted initially, once I took it that far, was like, if I could just have a cassette tape of me singing Van Halen songs with a band that actually could play these songs.
Yeah.
I mean, back then I would have been just
right.
nuts over the moon to have something like that.
Yeah.
But this,
Yes.
Yeah, I also said a couple things like, hey, to the tour manager, I was like, he was like my go-to guy. I said, hey, you know, do you think I should ask to take a photo? And he goes, no, I wouldn't. So I was like, okay, word to the wise.
call.
So I don't have any photos. I don't have any recordings. You know, the thing is, if I'd have been, I'm glad I didn't, but if I'd have been thinking, I had my phone in my pocket, I could have hit record anytime I wanted. Of course, it would have sounded like nothing because of the
Right.
volume they were at. But it was an amazing experience. I don't want to take up the whole interview talking about it, but they were so warm and nice and amazing, and I know I did my best. I had the greatest audition. I sang those songs. We sang 6 songs off Back in Black. I mean, it was a marathon, and at that volume, and I'm telling you, when we did Shoot to Thrill, there's a couple notes in there where, you know, you're in the stratosphere.
Right.
And I'm sitting there. I made it a point. I turned around and looked at him like, you guys know this is like nothing for me. I tried to look
Right.
like I
Right.
wasn't even trying. No sweat
no
dripping,
sweat,
you know.
nothing.
So we did the audition, and throughout it, they would take these long breaks and smoke cigarettes and drink coffee or tea. And I got a chance to talk to Ellen, Angus's wife, about Bond for like an hour. And she just told me all these Bond stories. And one thing I had never put together was they had just gotten married. He was at the wedding,
Really?
Bond, and right before he died. I mean, like a month or two. Like it was heartbreaking what they had to have gone through with, you know, it's happened so long ago we forget, but for them, it's very real. And she just talked about Bond and just the way anything I've ever read about Bond, everyone's the same way. They all loved him. No one has a bad thing to say about him. But she ended up making me this drink with hot water and honey.
Really?
And she said, this honey, it can only be bought at some place, I don't know where. And I used to make this for Bon. And I'm like,
Isn't that great?
She's making it for you.
I mean, come on. So it was an amazing experience that, obviously I'll cherish forever. But I walked out and they said, okay, you can't tell anybody.
Wow.
So all of this stuff was going on and people were contacting me on Facebook. Dude, you should get in touch with AC/DC. And,
Yeah, we hear that every
you should
day,
call
so.
them. And I kept going, yeah, I should. I definitely should. Meanwhile, I'd already done the audition.
Wow.
And then Axl got the job, which made sense.
Well,
They
I mean,
were
if you're going
getting
to
ready
lose to somebody,
Right?
Yeah.
I said that to
Seriously.
him. I said that if I'd have lost to one of the other guys they brought in to audition, I would have been crushed. But I
Yeah,
lost to
right.
an international rock star.
and it's how do you make a choice? What do you do if you're those guys? It's like, do you go with a tribute band? I mean, that's a tough one.
And it would have been a tough job to get because there was a lot of hate coming at Angus, and it would have been coming at whoever got that job.
Oh, I mean,
The pressure,
they
the level
ripped
of
up-
pressure would have
They
been.
ripped up Axl Rose. Imagine what they would have done to you.
I know. And I was like, wow, if I get this job, I'm going to have to turn off all social media. I won't be able to go on the internet because you'll see something that'll freak you out.
And that takes some getting used to. I was
Yeah.
just starting out doing this, and when social media was starting to come around, and reading, I'm like, God, I thought I did pretty good last night. It takes a while to get used to all of that.
Yeah, blogs can be really brutal, man.
Sure.
People get on there and just.
People actually have time to actually get on the internet and write something negative about something. I've never understood that. Yeah. Dude, that's a fantastic.
Thanks for letting me tell it, Brian.
No, that's a great story, and I'm honored that you're sharing it here for everybody on this show. It's really cool.
It was great.
You never know. The phone could ring like any minute, though. Still,
Yeah,
'cause
they
I don't know
have
what
my
the hell
number.
they're gonna do. I'm hoping, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I better go look for another band.
I know these guys. I felt,
You're gonna
I felt
find
bad
another
for them
singer.
too. But then I was like, nah, they'll just have to take some time off, and then Bonfire will blow up because now Bonfire with
Right.
But
crazy.
one more thing I just thought of was my wife. Her favorite thing of the whole experience was obviously she was just, we couldn't believe it. It was really weird around our house for a while, and her whole thing was she said, "I want you to ask them how they found out about you." So one of the first questions we sat down with
How
coffee.
come she
and I
wanted
said,
to? Of all the questions, why did she want to know that?
Because, when I got the answer, I found out is I sat down and I go, because I didn't know what to say to these guys. They're all your heroes right in front of you. You're like, so I just said, how did you guys find me? And Angus goes, it was me. He goes,
Angus found you.
Angus found me. He said, which meant a lot to me because I didn't know if somebody pitched me to them, their management or something. And he goes, no, it was years ago. I was poking around on the internet and I saw someone had made a comment that, if you ever want to see Bon Scott like he was back in the day, you got to check out this guy.
That's great that he remembered.
And he goes, and I looked you up, and this guy's pretty good. And he goes, so when this all happened, I said, call that guy in Los Angeles. So, and that was, my wife said, that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted it to have been Angus.
Yeah.
Because she knows how close they all were and how special Bon was.
Well, I mean, it's pretty amazing, and I think a lot of people that are not in this whole tribute band thing that we all do, that we do get a taste of what it's like, and we want validation that all this hard work is worth it. And really, I mean, you just hit the ceiling there. The only thing that would be better for you is if you would have got the gig, and that isn't even that bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
And I got to thank them I kind of felt like I was speaking for all tribute band artists. Like, hey, I've been cashing a check on your back for 16 years.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you because I've met most of my best friends in life. I've traveled the world. I've had, you guys have played Mexico and
You're right. It's changed.
Canada.
It's changed my life. It's the only reason I'm at Ultimate Ears right now. It's my
right. And so I thanked them. I was like, we thank you that you don't shut us down and that you wrote all these great songs. I mean, and that you have all these great fans that'll come out and support. They love you so much, they support us.
Right.
You know, so I felt good being able
That's wild.
to thank them. You know what? Yeah, it was cool.
So as we wind down the interview, I've got one question for each of you guys, okay? I ask everybody that comes in here, 3 desert island albums, the last 3 albums you will ever have. You're on a desert island. You've got a turntable with power, and you can have only 3 albums for the rest of your life. And I'm thinking I don't have to say, you know, no AC/DC, because I'm sure you've had your fair share of AC/DC albums. So let's go back and forth. And we'll start with Diego.
Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd is one of them.
Okay.
I got to go Black Sabbath, probably Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath.
I like that one too.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
really-
it could be a number of, but I'll go with that one. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath.
Diego?
Physical Graffiti,
Yeah.
of course.
See, double album.
Oh.
That's always good. Go double album.
Yeah, you kind of cheating, but I like that album, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. You know, I want to say Power Age, but you said
So you'd
no
actually pick an
AC/DC.
AC/DC album. I mean, I
Well-
guess I'd have to pick a Van Halen album if you asked me.
I do love that album.
Okay, we'll give that, because that story, Kicks Ass, might be one of the best stories I've had on this.
I got to go with Van Halen 1. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, when I started playing guitar, it was Randy Rhoads and Eddie and just like a lot of the guys in LA. And it's just
Right.
like, that album was just
That's one of
live
those,
recordings, you know, most of it.
top
It's
to
just-
bottom, all the way through.
The tone, the guitar tone, just the whole,
It's one of those
It's just-
albums that I remember where
Yeah.
I was the first time I heard it.
Yeah.
There's very
It's
few
just-
albums that I.
oh, yeah.
Isn't that funny? It's interesting because you guys are here, and the 2 albums that I have that with are Van Halen 1. I remember where I was when I heard "Running with the Devil." Was at the river on a water skiing trip, and then 7th grade, Back in Black. First time I heard AC/DC, sitting there with Joe Covington and everybody out there from the South Bay. God rest Joe Covington, guy I went to school with, passed away this year. But only those 2 albums I can really recall where I was at.
Yep. Yep.
All right, Sean, number 3 for you.
Maybe like a Rolling Stones album, either like Let It Bleed or Sticky Fingers. Let It Bleed.
Let It Bleed.
Let It Bleed.
Where can everybody find out about Bonfire, where you guys are playing, all that good stuff?
LABonfire.com, for sure.
And that'll lead you to our Instagram page. It's all there. Our Facebook page and all the other Twitter. It's all there on our website. We're pretty active on Facebook too. We have a fan page and
Yeah, Bonfire tribute to AC/DC. But like he said, if you go to LABonfire.com, it'll take you to all the other stuff.
If you're in the LA scene, if you're in the LA tribute band scene, you definitely know about Bonfire. If you don't know about Bonfire, check these guys out. They kick ass. Diego, Sean, thanks for coming in, brothers.
thank
Thanks,
you, man.
Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this week's Cover Your Ears podcast. Sean's story of hanging with Angus Young and the AC/DC family was truly unbelievable. And make sure and check them out on iTunes because they actually fooled me. This week's artist spotlight is Uncured. Now, these guys are based in New York and are a progressive metal band. They formed back in 2014 and are fronted by brothers Rex and Zach Cox. And not only do they rock, but they're Ultimate Ears clients. Check out the song Anti-Venom and keep your eyes open as their new album will be available on March 10th. Cover Your Ears is brought to you by Heil Sound. Heil is all about that perfect sounding microphone, and it just so happens they've been doing it for quite some time. 50 years of rock, so be a part of it. Anybody that's been around that long is definitely for real. Check out their website at www.heilsound.com. Check for brand new episodes of Cover Your Ears each and every Tuesday. I'd love to hear your feedback too. You can contact me with any comments, suggestions, or questions at briangellervo@gmail.com. And if you like the podcast, please make sure and leave a review wherever you may have found the Cover Your Ears show. And do a guy a favor. Tell a friend. Oh, and if you have something interesting to say and you're in the business, let me know. It could make for a fun show. See you next week.